everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I am extremely excited to be filming this video. I am going to be doing a review video / reading vlog of Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. We now have the final book in the Throne of Glass series. I'm so excited. This book is massive. It is like 20 pages shy of 1,000 pages, so it's definitely going to take me a little bit of time to read. There will be spoilers in this video. Throughout this video, as I read, I will be discussing spoilers. Also, this is our Muggle Studies book club pick for November. As you know, Hannah and I from The Rainy Reader have a book club, and we are reading Kingdom of Ash for November, and we are so excited. So Hannah and I really started bonding over the Throne of Glass series. I remember, I think it was Era Fire, where we really started kind of talking and discussing the book, and then our friendship just really grew from there. I'm just really excited to read this book and have this live show with her because it's just so special that we were able to create such an amazing friendship from a book series. I will update you guys once I've started and have some thoughts to share. Hey guys, so today is Wednesday. It is later on in the evening, and I do have some progress to share with Kingdom of Ash. I am not very far. I'm on page 52. I just started chapter 5. A lot happens in the first couple chapters, that's for sure. So I'm having trouble getting into the book, not because it's bad, but because we're at a stage in the book where I personally just don't really enjoy any of my books like this. So spoilers from here on out, okay? Spoilers, you have been warned. But right now, everyone is separate, okay? So we've got Aedion and Lysandra back, I think they're in Tirsen. Then we have Manon and her 13 and Dorian looking for the Crochin witches. Then we have Aelin somewhere, who knows where, being tortured by Mauve, and her story is just, I was having trouble stomaching that chapter. And then we have, I'm missing somebody. Oh, Elide with Rowan, Lorcan, and Gabriel. Those four are somewhere, they're looking for Aelin. Anyways, so what I was saying is I don't like when my characters are separate. I like when all my characters are together, and that's with any story. I find that I get bogged down with following all the different point of views, even though I absolutely love every character in this story. There's so many characters that I don't want to die. I'm so worried. But I'm like, I don't know. I find that certain characters are annoying when they're alone versus when they're in their group. So right now I'm having trouble with Aedion. He's kind of annoying me. He's kind of been the bulk of the first 5 chapters. And I just don't like the way he's treating Lysandra. So those chapters are like, eh. But then we get to Elide, Rowan, Lorcan, and Gabriel's chapter, and their chapter's really good. They're tracking Aelin, and yeah, it's interesting what they're doing. They're torturing Mauve's, I guess, her followers into finding out where Aelin is. Then we get to Dorian and Manon's chapters, and oh my goodness, that's my favorite. Manon and Dorian, well, Manon is my favorite character, and Dorian, after Queen of Shadows and Empire of Storm, I think Empire of Storm, Dorian became one of my other favorite characters. Dorian just spoke with Gavin. He just kind of rose Gavin. I guess he didn't really rise him from the dead, but he summoned his spirit, I guess, and Dorian is trying to look for the 3rd word key. So right off the bat, things are happening. Hey guys, so it's been a few days since my last update. I am dragging my feet with reading this, much more than I was expecting. Right now I'm on page 85. I just got to chapter 8. So my thoughts so far. The newest thing that I got to right now is Irene is possibly pregnant, which kind of blows my mind a little bit. We just got introduced to the spider that Manon stole the silk from to fix Abroxis's wings on. Already chapter 8 and things are weaving together. I am enjoying that we're kind of just jumping in to a whole bunch of crazy stuff. Hey guys, so I just got to chapter 13. I'm on page 122. Things are finally starting to pick up and I'm getting more invested into the story. So the last 50 or so pages were more focused on Aelin and seeing Aelin tortured. Mauve wants her to take the blood oath, but Aelin refuses, and they tortured her by making her kneel on glass, which was just so cringy. Finry's brother was killed, which, I mean, there's gonna be death in this book. I know there's gonna be death, so I'm kind of like, nah, whatever. Finry's isn't one of those characters that really stands out to me yet. I feel like we need more character development on him, so if anything happens to him or even maybe Gabriel, I would be okay. Like, I know characters are gonna die, so those characters dying would be okay. But I feel like the other characters are a little bit untouchable. So now we're about to get into a Manon streak. I'm really, really excited. So Hannah said things are about to pick up. I'm now on page 169. I forgot to mention in the last clip that it sounds like Rowan and Elide or Elide, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but they know where Aelin is now. She sent out some sort of like wave magic and they know that she's in Doranel, so they are on their way there. The Manon chapters, oh my gosh, Dorian, he's such a badass. Like, he has changed so much from the very first book at just being kind of a flirty guy with like no responsibilities and just kind of doing what he wants to just doing what he needs to do and just being just a total badass. Like, I love his magic. I love how raw and powerful it is, especially when he killed the spider. I wasn't expecting it, honestly. I thought Manon was gonna do it. I didn't think Dorian would do it. The battle with the Crochin witches, I really, really liked that. I wish that it had been a little bit longer because it was so good. Like, the fighting scenes. I loved the story from, oh, what's her name? Manon's great-grandmother. I loved hearing the history of Manon's heritage. I thought that was really interesting. Also, we got a little bit more of Aiden and Lysandra scenes, which I liked the scene a little bit more. So they're basically in the camp with Darrow and all of the other lords, and they're trying to figure out where to go. And I'm so glad that Nox is back. I think it's so great that she's bringing back characters from the first book. That's my thoughts so far. It's definitely picking up and I'm glad because I've got so much to read, but it's so good. I've just been holding off on reading it because it's the last book in the series, but so far so good. Hey guys, so I'm in a different filming location because I'm out of town. I have been reading so much in Kingdom of Ash because our commute here was like 4 hours. So much happened. Oh my gosh. So right now I'm on page 305. First thing is Lysandra and Nox and Aedion. They moved the army by drugging the lords, which I thought was really funny. I liked that part a lot. Then we moved to Kale. So oh, but really quick, I'm still not loving Lysandra and Aedion's perspective. Like, it's still, whenever I get to their point of view, I'm just like, oh gosh, this is like, when is it going to get to the next one? It's just not holding my attention, unfortunately. So now we go to Kale and Irene, and Kale is now at, is it Ainel? His home? Like where he was born, and they're there to confront his father to let them know that there is an army on their way there. That confrontation with his dad was just so great. I loved it. Irene's sass and confidence, she was very cool-tempered, and I loved the way she just stood up to his father, just her tone of voice, and it was so fantastic. I just love how strong she was for Kale. Then we move to Aelin, and then we find out that Mauve is going to leave, and she wants to go get a collar for Aelin to basically trap her and use her to find the word keys. So that part was just like, oh my gosh, no. But then we skip to Rowan, and they basically made a plan to get Mauve out of Dornell with the collar, and I thought that was fantastic. So freaking good. And then Elide decides that she's gonna go and find Aelin and Dornell. She's so great. She's very smart, and she's really cunning when you think about it. Like, she comes up with these amazing plans. She knows how to read people really well. What I love about Sarah J. Maas's writing is that there are so many characters, but they each have their own unique personality, but also giving them great wit and sass, and just they all mix so well together. Now Dorian is learning to shapeshift, which is fantastic. So Dorian finally tells Manon how he feels about her, that he actually cares for her, and gosh, I love Manon and Dorian so much. They're like my favorite couple. It's so funny how things change. When I first started Throne of Glass, like, I didn't care for Dorian very much, and I definitely didn't ship Dorian and Selena or Dorian and Aelin, but now, like, Dorian and Manon are just like, they're my OTP. 100%. They fly out for the camp where they're supposed to go. So Manon and the 13 decide to follow the Crochin witches. Then they come across a village where, like, the witches from Morath, they killed a whole bunch of, like, mortals and a whole bunch of people, and Manon knows it's her fault. So they decide that they're going to dig the grave, and I thought that was just such a great turning point for Manon. She's finally realizing, like, the conversation she has with Dorian is just so powerful. Dorian's like, caring isn't weak. It's not weak to love. So last thing to talk about is Aelin's rescue. I don't even know where to start. I'm gonna have to come back, gather my thoughts, and then we'll talk about that scene. So we are now back home from out of town, and I thought I would do another update on Kingdom of Ash. I even got more read since my last update this weekend. I went from page 305 to page 362. My last update, I wanted to quickly discuss Aelin's escape because I didn't get a chance to talk about that. Oh my gosh, that scene was so good. We find out that Mauve leaves Dornell because of Rowan and them setting a trap for her to leave to try and get the Val collar. So now Aelin gets moved to like a war camp, and she's in a tent with Karn, who is about to, like, basically burn her alive but not kill her because Mauve needs her alive. And then Fenris, oh my gosh, he breaks the blood oath, which I didn't see coming. So he breaks the blood oath, and I guess I must have missed that, but if you break the blood oath, it kills you. He saves Aelin, and Aelin starts running through the camp, and Lorcan sees her, and he uses his magic to, like, push everybody away and shield her from all the arrows that are being thrown at her so that she can safely get to them. And she finally meets up with Lorcan and Gabriel and Rowan, and they take her to Elide, and then Rowan goes to find Karn and Fenris. The part where they bring Fenris back, like, Gabriel heals Fenris, and then Fenris is pretty much dying, and Aelin just starts to kind of, like, glow, like her powers are finally released. But quickly, before we go into that, the scene where she's just like, she wants to get the iron mask off of her hands. Oh my gosh, that scene was just so intense. She's, like, freaking out. She's pretty much having a panic attack. So that scene was really powerful. But then she notices Fenris is there, and she finally unleashes her powers, and she just, like, creates this, like, I guess, fire bubble glow, like, protection around her and Fenris. We know Fenris is dying, and I actually felt really sad. Like, I know I had mentioned in a prior clip that I didn't care too much if Fenris died, but in that moment, I was getting a little teary-eyed, and I was like, what the heck? Like, this actually makes me really sad. Fenris is finally, we're starting to get a little bit more character development from him. Like, he breaks the blood oath, things start to happen, he becomes important, and now we're about to take him away from the story. So I was actually really sad because I feel like he could contribute more, and sure enough, she shares the blood oath with him and he lives. Sarah J. Maas does such an amazing job with suspense, and especially those types of scenes. Like, she did that in her A Court of Thorns and Roses trilogy as well. Just scenes where people are running because of danger. There's a huge scene of that in, like, Queen of Shadows as well, when it's Aelin, or is she Aelin or Selena? I think she's Aelin at that time, where Aelin and Manon meet for the first time and they really, like, fight it out in Queen of Shadows. That scene is just so intense. There's so much suspense, and it's just so fantastic. So now when they're on the boat, basically they're in these caverns. They stop by, I guess there is a burial ground with, like, tons of gold and treasure. Aelin decides to loot all of the treasure. Fenris finally comes out of his wolf form and into a fae, and he's like, we're gonna need more pockets. So I love the humor that's sprinkled in between all of these really intense scenes. Just Sarah J. Maas is fantastic with all of that. Now that gives chance for Elide and Lorcan to talk on the boat, and Elide is pretty much like, I don't want anything to do with you. Lorcan asks her, how long are you gonna make me atone? And she's like, well, you haven't done anything to atone. I don't want her to forgive Lorcan so easily. I feel like what he did is kind of unforgivable, to be honest. I understand his motives, especially when we're in his point of view. He talks about how the reason he summoned Mauve was really to save Elide, but he really betrayed them, and his betrayal just cost so much. So I can understand why she doesn't want to forgive him, and I like that she's still angry with him. That I'm okay with. But Lysandra and Aedion, their bickering back and forth is just honestly getting annoying. Then when they're looting, Aelin finds rings for her and Rowan to exchange and to wear since they're really married, and I was just like, oh, I loved that scene. It was so good. Aelin and Rowan finally talk about being mates because they hadn't gotten a chance to talk about it. Rowan never knew. Aelin knew, but Rowan never knew, from my understanding, and that was kind of a bomb dropped on us in Empire of Storm, where Mauve faked Rowan mating with someone else. They make up. Of course, there is a sexy Sarah J. Maas scene, and I guess they finally reconnect their mating bond. Then we go to Lorcan and Aelin, and this scene, I love it. It's so good. So she finally confronts Lorcan, and I was intrigued as to how this was going to happen, because I figured that Aelin wasn't going to let what happened, like Lorcan's betrayal, just go unnoticed. Basically, she gives him two choices to take the blood oath. She says she'll never control him. He'll always have the freedom to choose, except that he can never betray them again. That is going to be her only command that she ever gives him. Or he can pretty much leave and he's banished, never allowed back to Tiersen. And I love how at that scene she kind of whispers and she says, you know, she's like, I know what you and Elide have, or I know your feelings for her. I never want to take that away from you. So this is why I'm giving you the choice. He takes the blood oath. We're finally getting back into that banter again, which I love. Now we cut to Chaol and Yrene. Chaol's father knows that Yrene is pregnant, and he tells Chaol, and I loved that bomb drop. So good. Perfect timing also. They're basically waiting for the city to be destroyed, and they're waiting to get massacred, and his father just drops that bomb on him. Okay, so I've just read a little bit more since my last update yesterday, but I really wanted to talk about what's happening right now. I'm currently on page 400, and a couple things that have happened that's been pretty intense. First, Manon is now at the Farian Gap, and she's just made her speech to the Iron Teeth Witches, which was so good. Her speech just showed how amazing her character development is. I can't get over how much character development she has throughout these books. It's crazy. Oh my goodness, I turned the camera off too soon. Literally after I put the camera down and I started reading the next chapter, Kale and Aelin reunite. Oh my gosh, it was so good. I was not expecting it. Finally, we're getting more sass from Aelin, like she's becoming more herself after everything that happened. Irene and Aelin had such a heartwarming reunion as well, and just the way that she started crying when she saw Kale and she just gave him a hug. It was just so freaking good. Hey guys, so I've got some important stuff to discuss. I am now on page 462. Now everyone knows that Mauve is Val. Rowan, Fenris, Gabriel, and Lorcan are having a lot of trouble dealing with this, especially Lorcan the most, especially with everything that's happening with him and Eli. So of course him and her have another fight, fallout, and I think this is where things are going to start turning for him, because what Eli said definitely hit him hard. So basically she asked him how she thinks that he is in love with Mauve, and she asked him, how did you fall in love with a monster so I can understand how I did? And that was just such a powerful quote, and it's just so heartbreaking. So I feel like I understand where Eli is coming from. I really do. Like, I understand why she's pissed and she's angry, and I'm interested to see, like, Lorcan just is like completely defeated. Then Aelin meets Kale's father. That was probably one of the best scenes in this book so far. It was just hilarious. I just love the way Aelin was really snarky, and Kale's father says something about like being in his keep, and she like looks around and she's like, yeah, this is amazing what you have, because the place is like falling apart and is like super run down and grungy. So I just thought that was a really, really, really funny moment. And then we talk about Aelin and how she's connected to Mauve. They're deeming her Fairy Queen of the West, and I love that. So then we go back to Aedion and Lysandra. She finally stands up to herself with Aedion, and once again, this is such a powerful, there's just so many powerful conversations and quotes in this book. She's been disrespected by men so many times, but it's never been as bad as how Aedion treated her with throwing her out into the snow basically with no clothes on, and she just tells him that she wants nothing to do with him. And good for her, honestly. Maybe I don't ship them anymore, honestly. Aedion's just really pissed me off. He's gonna have to do a lot to regain my feelings towards him. Oh my goodness, guys. Oh my goodness. Two major scenes. I'm now on page 500, so I'm a little bit over halfway. Okay, so we had the fight between Manon and her grandma, which was a little, okay, it was amazing, but slightly anticlimactic. Manon fights basically the three matrons, her grandmother, matron of the Blue Bloods, and then matron of the Yellow Legs. And she kills the matron of the Yellow Legs, who's wearing the Crochan crown, and then Manon puts the crown on her head, and the crown starts to like shine. Basically, it like reminded me of a scene from Harry Potter when Harry picked up his wand for the first time in the Sorcerer's Stone, and everything like music and the wind, and basically like the wand chooses the wizard, so like the crown chooses the queen. She tells the Blue Blood matron to flee, like she lets her go, and then it's just basically her up against her grandma. And I was really hoping for an epic battle, kind of like we got in Empire of Storms, but her grandma just like fled away. Manon is now Queen of the Witches, so she has now been crowned Queen of the Witches. So good. I'm loving that. Now, we are at the Battle of Aniel. And I just got to the point where I think Lorcan dies. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. I love Lorcan. I think he's such a complex, interesting character. I really, really don't want him to die. So I just wanted to share those thoughts. Hey guys, so much is happening in this book right now. It's crazy. So I read another 100 pages. I'm now starting part 2, Gods and Gates. First of all, Eli and Lorcan. Yes, 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 yes. I ship them so hard. So basically, Lorcan didn't die yet. They kill the entire Morath army, and then they learn that the dam is about to break, and it's basically just gonna drown everyone, like just annihilate the entire city. Eli decides that she's gonna take Kale's horse and go find Lorcan out on the battlefield because she finds, like, she's the only one who notices that he's missing. And I really thought that both of them were gonna die. I was like, okay, this is it. The dam breaks and Aelin comes out and she just stops the water, her and Rowan do. Basically, she's been tunneling into her magic for the last 3 months, and she's been saving it for Maeve, and she just channels it to the river. That scene was just so freaking amazing. I love seeing scenes with Aelin and her magic, but actually, I also want to talk about Aelin fighting. I love seeing Aelin back as an assassin, like she was like with, you know, as Selena. I love seeing those scenes where she doesn't use her magic and she just is just a badass. Going back to Eli and Lorcan. Lorcan wakes up, he's alive, and then him and Eli basically profess their love to each other, but the sexual tension that Sarah J. Maas creates is so good. Like, they barely kiss, but just the way they raise their brows and the sass between them, you just know that there's sexual tension without there being any sort of like physical touch, and I love that. I think those scenes are so good. I love Sarah J. Maas's love scenes. I do. I know a lot of people don't like them, but sometimes I feel like they're necessary for the story, and this is kind of transitioning to a new adult, so to me, it's okay to have mature adult content. Oh, interesting thing that Aelin thinks as she sees Irene healing a Valg back to human. She thinks, what if she can heal Maeve or Erwin and get them to leave their physical forms that they're in, and they don't have to forge the lock. They're trying to find a loophole to not have to sacrifice Dorian or Aelin to forge the lock. So now kind of going back to Manon and Dorian, my favorite scenes. So Manon finally just, I think this is probably her biggest character. Like, this is like the last change that she needs in her character growth, and she finally tells Dorian that she cares for him. She says, I want you to stay, I need you, I want you, and then she even brings up marriage. But Dorian knows that for her, marriage is keeping her like caged in, and he doesn't want to do that to her. They have a really special night together, and then when she wakes up, Dorian is gone, and it's just, I'm really hoping that Sarah isn't having that as our last goodbye, our last romance scene between Dorian and Manon. I can't handle it. I can't handle the anticipation of who's going to die. Okay, so I've just read another really intense scene, and I love Dorian. Dorian is fan-freaking-tastic. So Dorian's in Morath, and he finds Maeve there with Erwin, and Maeve is trying to trick Erwin into joining forces with him. Maeve knows Dorian is there, and she captures him, and right then I'm thinking like, oh no, this is not going well. He decides to trick her into believing that he wants an alliance with her, and that he is mad at Aelin, and he doesn't want to sacrifice himself to forge the locks, and that Maeve and him can rule. Now Maeve and Dorian are conspiring with each other to find the lock. We're getting a little bit more of Maeve's background, which I think is good. Dorian finally gets the key. He lets his guard down and she tries to take a hold of his mind, and when she does it, he turns around and takes a hold of her mind. Like he's been studying her magic like he did with the spider, and he basically is able to control her, and he severs her ability to walk through portals and create portals. Dorian's magic is so freaking cool. Like he really has some of the coolest magic in this book. Just made myself some tea because I need something warm and comforting. I am so freaking pissed. Okay, I'm on page 755. I'm so mad. I'm so mad. Like, honestly, I could cry right now. So, we're at the main battle in Ornith, or wherever they're in right now, like the north. Manon and Abraxas fight the Yellowtail heir and her wyvern. He injures Abraxas and Manon thinks they're going to die. And then Petra comes in and saves them. That scene was really, really, really intense. I was like on the verge of tears when Manon whispered to Abraxas that she loves him and she like jumped out of her saddle to save him. Then they get inside the castle and they realize that the witch tower is about to basically annihilate them. So Manon decides that she is going to sacrifice herself to take down the tower. And instead, her 13 keep her from leaving, and they left. And they sacrificed themselves. And I was just like tears when Astrid, they did the called the yielding, and that's when they basically use up all their energy and they just, I guess they explode like with magic, and they took down the witch tower. I'm assuming Manon's grandma, and then Manon is just like crying on the field for her 13, and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm so pissed. I texted Hannah. I was like, I am so pissed off. This book will kill your soul. She's not as far as I am, so she has a little whiles to go before she gets to that point. But yes, I'm very distraught. Why did the 13 have to die? I'm so upset. Like, I could understand Petra, maybe some of the 13, but like Vesta, Sorel, and then Astrid. I love Astrid. She was one of my favorite characters. She's like one of the biggest reasons why Manon had such a huge character development. I'm worried about, because there's still like 250 pages left, so who else is gonna die? What are you doing, Zara? I'm trying to read. I am trying to read. Oh my goodness. I am trying to read. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I just got to page 804. Dorian and Aelin try to forge the lock. I'm like confused with the whole lock thing. So basically, they need to forge the lock to seal the gate, but she decides to seal the gate of the gods instead, and Mala basically gives her power to finish forging the lock. But I'm just really confused about that scene because I thought they were trying to forge the lock to seal the gate so that the Valg can't come in, but instead they seal the gate so that now the gods can no longer enter. So I'm really confused, but I guess now the word keys are done, so pretty much no one can go anywhere. So they have to kill Erwin and Maeve, and once they kill them, like, no one can enter because there are no more word keys. She ends up pretty much giving away all of her power. She can only muster up like some water in her palm and a little bit of fire, and that's pretty much it. She's got nothing left, which is so sad, but who knows? There's still like close to 200 pages left. So who knows, maybe she's gonna muster some way to get her magic back, but Dorian still has his. Okay, so I have about 100 pages left to read. I am almost done with the book, and we are pretty much getting into the final battle. Aelin had just showed up in Orinth, and the final battle is going on, so let's see where it goes. Things are gonna get intense. I know it. Okay, so Gabriel just died, and it's a little anticlimactic, to be honest. Like, I don't understand. He could have, like, not died. So basically they're trying to bring the gate down, and he runs through the gate so that Aedion can close the gate. I'm just like, why didn't he just stay inside? Like, I don't know. That seemed really, really anticlimactic of a die. I'm not like super sad about it, like it sucks, but there are other characters that I care more about, so let's see where it goes. Okay, so Maeve and Erwin just got to Orinth, and now Aelin is basically gonna fight them both without any magic. So this is really, really, really intense. Okay, so I just finished Kingdom of Ash, and I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5 stars. Definitely, no questions asked. It was so good. Okay, when Aelin fights Mauve and Erwin alone, that scene is so good. I love how she tries to turn Erwin against Maeve, and then they trick Erwin to go to the tower where Irene and Dorian basically join magic forces and they defeat him, which was such a freaking good scene. Then Aelin with Lorcan, Rowan, and Fenris, the 4 of them link together and they're able to defeat Maeve. After she like gets into their heads, Aelin is strong enough to, even though she doesn't have enough magic, she's strong enough to get out of what Maeve is like showing her and get back to like the real world and defeat her. I have to say, like, I'm quite happy with the way they died. I think it was a good finale for all of this build up. So I'm very, very, very happy about that. Oh, I thought it was so touching when Aelin gave Gabriel like the blood oath even though he was already dead. That was such a touching scene. All in all, great finale. My only gripe, and I'm not gonna deduct it of any of the points, I'm still gonna give it a 5 out of 5 stars, but I feel like Manon's story is a little bit incomplete. I still don't understand why the 13 had to die. I kind of get it, why she did it, but it just still makes me so mad. It makes me so mad. Maybe like half of the 13, or I thought maybe instead of the 13 bringing down the witch towers, maybe some of like the Crochin witches, like Glennis, how she's like finally got to see Manon and see what her great-granddaughter's doing and how she's like trying to bring the witches together, and maybe she could have sacrificed herself along with like some of the Crochin witches instead of the 13. Manon is still so sad and she's still grieving, so I just feel like her story is a little incomplete. I do love how Irene basically told Dorian and Manon to get married. I thought that was really funny. And then she basically just says, we'll see. Manon says that because after her 13 died, Manon and Dorian had like a really, really special moment together where she cried she cried in his arms, and I thought that was really sweet. Maybe she's no longer feeling like being with someone is gonna make her feel trapped versus just enhancing and having someone there for her. And then I also love how they have wyvern eggs, and he asks Manon to come to Ardalan to train the wyverns, so I love that. I feel like her story is a little incomplete. I would have maybe loved to gotten maybe another like 50 or so pages just to wrap up Manon's story a little bit. Or maybe a novella for just Manon and Dorian. Elide and Lorcan get engaged, which was so cute, such a cute, heart, like, warming scene. He tells her he's gonna give up his immortality for her because he thinks she's his mate, and so sweet. Aedion finally gets the blood oath after Aelin is crowned queen. Everyone else's stories really wrapped up very, very nicely. I think it was fantastic book. It's full of action, amazing character development. I'm really sad that the series is over. I think I might reread it, but all in all, this was just quite an epic finale to this amazing series. So I really hope you enjoyed my reading vlog and review. I know it was such a long video. There's just so much to talk about. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you next time in another video. Bye!